Louisville, Kentucky, and the surrounding area is primarily known for one thing, being the birthplace of bourbon. But the largest city in the Bluegrass State is so much more than that, offering a thriving food and cocktail scene, the largest collection of Victorian mansions in the country, and lots of Southern charm.
We had so much fun last week showing you how to spend a day in St. Louis, Missouri, that we decided to do the same thing here in Louisville, squeezing in as much as we can in the city and the surrounding bourbon trail in just 24 hours, including our first stop at one of the most famous bourbon distilleries in the country.
Jess and I are at the Maker's Mark Distillery here in Loretto, Kentucky, exploring the Bourbon Trail. The Bourbon Trail is a road trip experience and mecca for bourbon lovers all around the world, with over 40 distilleries, some amazing restaurants, and other really cool experiences to explore. Today we're going to be checking it all out, and we can't wait to have you along with us.
Maker's Mark is actually not the first bourbon to be distilled here. In fact, T.W. Williams bought this property in 1844 and started selling his own brand of bourbon just a year later. This building right behind me served as the United States' very first whiskey retail store in 1889 and is now on the National Historic Register. It's actually maybe considered the world's first drive-through liquor store.
Over 95% of the world's bourbon supply does come from our state. There's about 11.6 million barrels of whiskey aging in our state right now. That means there's enough barrels of whiskey for every Kentucky citizen and thoroughbred to get 2 barrels and still have a couple million left over.
After an impressive tour of the historic Star Hill Farms grounds, our guide took us to their fermentation facilities, where all Makers begins its journey converting raw grain to a sugary porridge called wort.
Oh my God, it smells so good.
It does smell good, but it is also like 100 degrees in here.
Their grain bill is fermenting right behind us. It smells so incredible. I just want to grab a big spoon and dive right in.
The still is 5 stories high, which is kind of insane. They specifically bought this farm because there is a lake right next door, and they've never had to purchase water from anywhere else. It is filtered by limestone, which removes sulfur and iron. So Justin and I were driving down the Bourbon Trail today, and we noticed that all of the distilleries that we passed were black. You'll notice behind me that the tree over there is black as well. Turns out there's some kind of fungus that grows on this tree that's called whiskey fungus. It actually feeds on ethanol, and it coats all of the buildings and trees in this kind of dark coating. That's why they paint the buildings black, so they don't have to keep repainting it all the time.
After distillation, whiskey is placed into oak casks where it's aged to taste, typically taking 6 to 7 years to fully mature. Once it's steamed ready by an expert tasting panel, it's mixed into batches to ensure a perfect taste before being pumped into bottles, and then finishes its journey at the world-famous Maker's Mark dipping line.
I had so much fun watching employees expertly dip and dunk bottles into the hot wax that we had to head over to the gift shop so that I could test my dipping skills too.
Chad, welcome to Maker's Mark. Justin's about to hand dip her bottle. Waves, grab with your left hand, switch this hand.
Dip, I dip, I dip.
Word. Bars. Oh, they come. Takes a minute. There they go. So you got to put it in the camera. Word.
Oh, hand dipped by Jess. Oh, it's sticky.
Yeah, it is sticky. This is the building where they print the labels for the Maker's Mark. They actually give you one as a souvenir, but don't try to stick it on another bottle of whiskey. They cut off the corner so that you can't pass it off as Maker's.
Our tour ended in an incredibly impressive tasting room with 4 different Maker's Mark whiskey samples. We picked up some tips for how to properly taste whiskey and left with a warm feeling in our chest, affectionately referred to by the locals as a Kentucky hug.
Bourbon has exploded in popularity since the 1990s, and with it, the Bourbon Trail. I had no idea this is the case, but if you're visiting during the busy period between July through October, many of the tours actually sell out literally months in advance.
When we booked this tour about a week ago, there was only 1 spot left on a weekday at 10:30 a.m.
So make those reservations in advance. For lunch, we came to Bardstown, Kentucky, which is the self-proclaimed bourbon capital of the world. Within 16 miles of this place, we will find 11 distilleries. We are stopping at the Old Talbott Tavern, which is quite the tongue twister. It was founded in 1779, which not only makes it the oldest bourbon bar in the world, but is said to be the first stagecoach stop in the entire United States.
Woo! That's good!
I am standing in front of the Lincoln Suite in the Talbott Tavern. Generally, I'd show you inside, but I can't. It's presently occupied because you can actually stay there. Fun fact, Abraham Lincoln was born just 15 miles from here in a 1-room cabin with a dirt floor. His family was literally moving to greener pastures in 1812 when he was just a boy and slept right here in this room.
Jesse James, the infamous lawman, frequented Bardstown when he was being chased by the law. On one night, Jesse James was so drunk that he actually saw the birds in this mural flying across the picture and did some target practice shooting holes in the wall.
It's believed that this bed and breakfast is actually haunted. People have actually reported seeing flashes of light, some of which are believed to be Jesse James. Other people have said to see a lady in white. If paranormal activity isn't your thing, this has played an important part in history as well. This actually serves as a base during the Revolutionary War, and there's been a ton of famous people who have come here, including Abraham Lincoln, General Patton, Lewis and Clark, and Washington Irving. Of course, we couldn't pass up getting a drink at the world's oldest bourbon bar, so we ordered some old fashions and marveled while sipping next to the very same stone fireplace where historical figures like Lewis and Clark share tales of their westward adventures. After grabbing some lunch, we continued exploring the tavern's fascinating museum and then hit the road, heading 45 minutes north to explore the city of Louisville.
We're in Louisville now, and we're at the famous Brown Hotel. It has had many famous guests over the years, from Harry Truman to Barack Obama and even Elizabeth Taylor. Fun fact, it celebrated its 100th anniversary just 2 days ago, and it's famous for something else, being the inventor of the hot brown sandwich.
So we came to the Brown Hotel to try something that Louisville is famous for, a mint julep. A mint julep associated with Louisville because of its connection to the Kentucky Derby. Over the course of a 2-day event, more than 120,000 mint juleps are drank every single year. A mint julep consists of bourbon, crushed ice, mint, and simple syrup. Dating all the way back to the 18th century, mint juleps were provided as a cure to a sore tummy, but all I have is a parched mouth.
Jess told me that it's not cool to order a mint julep in Louisville.
I found an entire Reddit thread that was like, do not order a mint julep, you will horribly embarrass yourself.
I think you look super cool.
It tastes good. I think especially if you're here in the summertime, it would be very refreshing.
We are super hungry for dinner, so we headed to the Grits in Logan Market. There are so many tiny, cute restaurants and shops here, so we cannot wait to explore around. We love experiencing little markets like these whenever we find them in new cities because it's a great way to experience a ton of local vendors all in one stop.
We've been to these kinds of markets all over the United States. There's usually some place that you can get beer, but this is the first one we've ever been to that actually has its own brewery. This is the Wild Hops Brewery, and they have a fig porter. I love figs, and I told Justin not to get me a porter, and I'm kicking myself now, and a coffee cream ale. Cheers! Kentucky is obviously known for a few things, and one of that is, of course, fried chicken. So we tried the Nashville hot chicken, crinkle cut fries, barbecue chicken, Gouda mac and cheese, beans and greens, and cornbread. Oh wow, it is really smoky.
Yeah, smoky and tangy.
Yeah.
It's really good.
With bellies full to the brim of Southern comfort food, we headed over to Old Louisville to burn off some calories on a walking tour.
We are in the Old Louisville neighborhood right now, which is allegedly one of the most haunted neighborhoods in the entire country. Even if you're a paranormal skeptic, it has more Victorian mansions than any other city on the planet. It has 1,400 buildings from between 1880 to 1890. So we're going on a ghost/historical tour of the neighborhood to find all about its spooky beginnings.
One of the stories is actually based right behind me at the First Church of Christian Scientists. This used to be a meeting spot for young lovers. A wealthy family was located right around the corner and had planned to marry their daughter off to an older wealthy gentleman, but she had other plans and was in love with a soldier. They had planned to meet on the steps of this church right here and get married, but before they could meet, the soldier actually wound up getting sick with the Spanish flu and was held at the base, never being able to tell his star-crossed lover that he was unable to meet her, and died just a few days later. She waited here herself and unfortunately contracted Spanish flu and also died. Neither of them were able to contact one another to tell them that they loved each other and were planning on meeting, or that they were sick, and she is still seen today sometimes wandering on the stairway waiting for her lover. While I love a spooky story, I'm not quite into paranormal photography, but if that is you, this is supposed to be one of the most active sites, and sometimes people are reported getting orbs and other kind of spooky things when they take photos here.
So we are on this ghost tour, and throughout it, the tour guide is like, that house is haunted, that house is haunted, that house is haunted. Apparently every single house in Louisville is haunted.
Jess and I are in Belgravia Court. This is Louisville's first of 25 walking courts. You'll notice that instead of having a road run in between the homes, it is a grassy area that residents can walk between. Our tour guide called this the Gaslight District because the walking court area between all of the homes has gas lamps that are lit 24/7.
When I think of Kentucky, I think of things like the Kentucky Derby or maybe Bourbon, but I never knew that Louisville had such incredible architecture. It's so beautiful. There are so many Victorian mansions. I feel like I could walk around the streets here forever.
Once again, thanks for coming out. That was Old Louisville, America's most haunted neighborhood. Thank you. You guys were a great group.
We're making our way southeast for the winter, exploring America in our 17-foot travel trailer.
Next week, I'm taking Jess on the most ridiculous mystery date in Tennessee, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss it.
We are stopping at the Old Talbot, at the Old Talbot Inn, which was founded in 17...
Old Talbott Tavern.
We are stopping at the Old Talbot Tavern. We are stopping at the Old Talbot, and the Talbot Tavern. Talbot. Abraham Lincoln was actually born just 15 miles from the Talbot Tavern.
Talbot.
Talbot. And the Talbot. I don't know why, I just want to say Talbot. The Talbot Tavern. Just 15 miles from the Talbot Tavern. The Talbot Tavern. I just want to say Talbot. Just 15 miles from the Talbot Tavern. Talbot Tavern. From the Talbot. I can't say Talbot.
It's not Talbot.